All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a book that's not really about personal growth. It's more about personal disruption. We're going to break down the key ideas from Vishen Lakhiani's incredible book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind.
So let's just jump right in with that question. Really think about it for a second. The rules you live by, are they actually yours? Your ideas about your career, about love, about what success even looks like, where did they come from? The whole point of this book is that for most of us, our lives are running on rules we never consciously chose. They were just installed, kind of like default software.
You know, the author has a name for this state of being. He calls it the ordinary world. And think back to when you were a kid, right? Learning was this huge adventure. But for so many of us, that sense of growth just kind of fizzles out after college. Life just settles into this autopilot routine, all guided by these invisible scripts. And before you know it, this kind of boring stagnation starts to creep in.
And that's where this quote from Steve Jobs just hits so hard. Everything around you was made up by people no smarter than you. It gets right to the core of this idea that the rules of life, they're not set in stone. They're totally changeable. And just realizing that, really getting it, that's the first step. To change the rules, though, you first have to see the system you're in. The book has a great name for it.
He calls it the culturescape. And honestly, the best way to picture it is like, it's the invisible operating system for humanity. You know, it's just running in the background, loaded with all these default settings about how life is supposed to be. And the crazy part is, it shapes all of our choices, and we don't even realize it's happening.
And this culturescape, man, it has a script for everything, especially the big stuff. You know the drill. Pick this college major, get that kind of job, marry that type of person. It's like a pre-made path laid out for us. And sure, it feels safe, it feels convenient, but following that script often leads you straight to, well, stagnation. Not the kind of real, messy, genuine growth we're all looking for.
So, okay, how do you actually break free from all this? Well, the very first step is just learning to see and then question all those outdated rules that are holding you back. And the book has shall we say, a pretty blunt name for these rules.
He calls them brules, as in bullshit rules. The author says extraordinary people just have an allergy to these things, and brules are all those rules that probably should have expired, generations ago, but they're still somehow running our lives. Things like, oh, you absolutely have to get a college degree to be successful. Or, my favorite, you've got to work yourself to the bone to get ahead. We've all heard them, right?
There's this perfect little story in the book that shows exactly how this works. So the author was raised Hindu, and he was always told, never ever eat beef. But he's a kid. He sees a McDonald's, and he wants a burger. So he asked why. He actually did his own research, and his mom finally let him try one. And the funny thing is, he said the burger wasn't even that great. But that one act, that one bite, it just completely shattered a lifelong belief he'd never questioned. And that's what taught him the incredible power of questioning, well, everything.
Okay, so once you start seeing these rules everywhere, you can't unsee them. But just seeing them isn't enough. You need the tools to actually replace them. And this is where the whole game changes. You shift from just being a product of the culturescape to becoming what he calls a consciousness engineer, basically an architect of your own mind. How cool is that?
Just look at the difference here. This is the whole shift the book is talking about. It's the difference between being a passenger in your own life and actually grabbing the steering wheel. It's about actively designing your inner world. And you do that by upgrading two really key components of your mental operating system.
So, first up, you've got your models of reality. A good way to think about this is like, this is the hardware of your mind. These are your most fundamental beliefs about yourself, about money, about relationships, about life in general. And the thing is, a lot of these were installed way back in childhood, totally without your permission.
And if those beliefs are the hardware, then your systems for living, well, that's the software you're running on that hardware every single day. We're talking about your habits, your daily routines, your practices. See, extraordinary people don't just accept the default software. They're constantly looking for updates, for optimizations, for better systems that get better results.
So what happens when you actually start doing this? When you start upgrading your mental hardware and software? Well, you start to build this incredible, profound sense of inner resilience, a real, deep self-acceptance. And to describe this state, the author uses a word that is, well, it's powerful, it's unforgettable, and it is definitely blunt. It's that feeling of being so completely centered, so at peace with who you are, that nothing and no one can throw you off your game. And here's the crucial part. It means you are no longer dependent on the outside world for your self-worth at all. Your happiness isn't tied to what your boss thinks, or how many likes you get, or whether you're in a relationship. It's an inside job. It's generated from within. So the big question is, how do you get there? The book lays out two key pillars. First, you set what are called self-fueled goals. So instead of a goal like to be loved, which completely depends on other people, you set a goal to be loving, which is 100% in your control. The second piece is practicing a kind of radical self-love. It's about truly, deeply internalizing the belief that I am enough. And once you get that, you finally break free from that exhausting treadmill of needing everyone else's approval. But here's a really important distinction. Becoming unfuckwithable, that's not the final destination. Think of it as the foundation. It's the solid ground you stand on so you can build something truly amazing, a bold, exciting vision for your future. So the next logical question is, how do you build that vision?
Well, one of the biggest traps we all fall into is chasing what the book calls means goals. You know, things like getting a promotion or a certain salary or a bigger house. Those aren't the real goal. They're just the means to an end. The book says we need to focus on end goals instead, the actual core human experiences we're craving. Things like feeling deep connection or growing as a person or making a real contribution.
And to help you figure out your end goals, there's this beautifully simple but incredibly powerful framework. You just have to ask yourself these three questions. 1, what experiences do I want to have in my life? 2, in what ways do I want to grow? And 3, how do I want to contribute to the world? Seriously, the answers to those questions, that's the blueprint for a future that is 100% aligned with who you really are.
And here's the ultimate litmus test for whatever vision you come up with. The fear part? That's a good sign. It means you're actually pushing your own boundaries, you're stepping outside the comfort zone of the culturescape. And the excitement? Well, that means you're on the right track. It means your goal is speaking directly to your soul.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, just remember this. The real work, the real journey, it starts right now. This isn't about some massive, overwhelming life change overnight. It's just about taking one small, conscious step. So I'll leave you with this. What's the one rule, just one, that you're going to choose to question today? What's the one belief you can start to redefine right now to begin engineering a reality that is truly and finally your own?